Have you ever gone on YouTube and somehow missed a Christian horror video? Come over here to the right and click that little bell to be notified of every time I upload.
Sorry about the delay. I apologize. It's been a hell of a week, but we're here now and let's get going. So, we're talking about Halloween 2 1981. Here's the funny thing. This is going to be kind of like all the things I talked about in Halloween 1, I'm going to bring up in Halloween 2. Not about the movie exactly, but the essence of how things worked out and the way they worked out and how it was meant to happen. And Halloween 2 is almost the exact opposite, yet the outcome was the same. Uh, this is how I feel. It's very interesting. So, Halloween 2, 1981. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill did not feel like making another Halloween movie. They were still artists in the purest form. Not that they ever stopped being that. They still are to me, but they were the true essence of artists at its purest form, and they were not about making money. They really just wanted to make good films, which is a very noble act. Weren't interested in making another Halloween movie. Irwin Yablans wanted to capitalize. He's a movie maker. He's in the movie business. Nothing wrong with that either. You have to make money. So if you have something that works, you do it again. There's nothing wrong with that. So John went on and did different things. He was doing The Fog. He did Escape from New York. You know, and it comes time to do Halloween 2. There was some discretion going on with Irwin and John because John started doing films with Avco Embassy, and Irwin was a little aggravated about that. John's just doing what's best for his movies, getting better deals, getting more money. So heads butt for a little bit, but then things come together for Halloween 2. John has credited the script of Halloween 2 as A Long Night and a Case of Six-Pack of Beer. As I stated, John was not interested in doing this movie. He did not want to make a sequel. Deborah Hill did not want to make a sequel. The audience obviously was so ready for a sequel because they loved the first one so much. It was the greatest experience in the world. It was like the Beatles of horror movies. It took the world by storm. So John writes this script that he's not interested in, that he doesn't like. Jamie Lee Curtis comes back. She has said she has come back strictly for the fans. It was the last time she was going to do a horror movie. She was not interested in doing this movie. Deborah Hill, of course, probably the same as John, just not really interested in doing the movie. You get Rick Rosenthal, who's very interested in the project, which is great. So that's one person we know that is really interested in doing this movie. Dick Warlock, happy to be on set, I'm sure. He has never said anything negative about Halloween 2. Pushed for the role of Michael Myers. Got it. And then we had Tommy Lee Wallace, who was set to direct Halloween 2. Did a great job. Very, very important man on the first film. He did so many important things. Did a great job. Hated the script. He's gone on record saying, I read the script for Halloween 2, and I absolutely hated it. He wanted nothing to do with the movie. We have all these things going into this movie that should make it a disaster. Uninspired script by John. Lack of interest on the first choice director. Lack of interest on the production side. All these things, yet this film is pretty darn good. I love Halloween 2. It's funny that the first Halloween film was all everybody ready to go, making this thing work, doing their hardest to take a low budget film and making it great. And it's one of the greatest horror movies in the world, as we know. Then you have Halloween 2, where everybody's just kind of doing what they got to do to make this film move on. And yet it's still a pretty damn good film. Halloween 2 is great. Dick Warlock is some people's favorite Michael Myers, especially in the portrayal. It's a great portrayal of Michael Myers. Dick does his thing. Doesn't exactly follow. It's kind of like Jason Voorhees. Every character, every actor kind of put their own feel on it, which is interesting. In Halloween, it really was the same thing. Everybody that played a Michael, they did their own thing. And Michael in Part 2 is great. Michael in Part 2 is evil. It's not my favorite portrayal, but there's really not a bad one. And Michael in Part 2 is just darn evil and creepy. And, Dick does a fantastic job as Michael. The breathing, it's really sinister. The way his face shapes that mask was sinister. It stretched it out a little bit more. Because as far as I know, the mask used in part 2 was the same one. I could be wrong, but from what I've read, things I hear, it was the same mask. Dick's face just shaped it so much differently. Dick has a wide face. Rick Rosenthal did a good job directing this movie. He really tried to tie everything in well and make it a cohesive movie. It doesn't really just feel like scenes. It doesn't really feel like scenes thrown together. It does have a cohesion to it that I do enjoy. The music, Alan Howarth comes in and adds a layer of goth synth on the music, and it's fabulous. I dare say I like it as much as the original, although I do think the original script, the way it sounds, is just perfect. But that gothic overtone of that synth was great. It really adds a new dynamic to the soundtrack, and it gives it an energy, a little bit more of an energy that the original doesn't have. Acting all across the board in this movie was good. It's gory. Halloween is gory. Halloween 2 is gory, and that's not a problem to me, because everything was still tasteful. It wasn't just blood and guts aplenty. It was really tasteful gore. The needle in the head was great. The woman getting her face thrown into the hot water, that's great stuff. The beginning when the girl gets stabbed and the blood sprays up on the mask. It's my favorite. That's my favorite scene in the movie. So I really don't have a complaint with Halloween 2, but I find it very interesting that the movie succeeded and is favored pretty good from fans across the board, despite the fact that the people involved, for the most part, really didn't care to be involved. I just find that very interesting. But all in all, I give Halloween 2 8.5 out of 10 stars. I think it's a great film. I think it has a great story, and everybody does good in it. So what are your thoughts on Halloween 2? I think it's a great installment in the franchise, and I'm glad it happened. And I really wouldn't change it. I really wouldn't change anything about the film. So that's Christian Hanover with Halloween 2, and we will be back for Halloween 3.